You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We're also streaming at cklu.ca online. You can click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us. You can also download that same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device, along with other CKLU programming throughout the day. We're also streaming on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, live streaming, and also on YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow the channel and the page, but mainly comment because we'll do our best to read your comments or get them up on the screen, depending on what time of the show. If we have time to read them, we will. But if you want to catch the shows later on demand, you can catch those on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, now X, twitter.com/Sudbury News. You are also our website at Sudbury News. So it's Sudbury.news. And that's it. It's not SudburyNews.ca or SudburyNews.com or anything. It's Sudbury.news. .news is the web extension for the page. It's a news aggregator. It's all the local news on one website, on one page, where you can go and see all the local news in one feed, one story after another, so you don't have to go searching around for CBC, CTV, Sudbury Star, Sudbury.com. It's all in one location, and then you click on the story and it goes right to their web pages. So they get the eyeballs, they get the revenue. It's a service that we do for free for them and for you, for news in general here in the city. So thanks for being on. We got a great show planned for you today. There's lots of news. News on the new arena and when it's going to be built by, and when they're planning on getting butts in seats, and when you can plan on buying your tickets for the Wolves and the Five and any other events that go on in the new arena. So we'll have more on that right after the weather. We'll have your comments, and it's going to be a great show. We'll have a deep dive into something, the state of the country. Foreign interference seems to be the flavor of the day on many levels as we look to something interesting happening towards the end of the week, possibly. The U.S. bases in Europe are on high alert through intelligence that says somebody's planning some kind of nefarious attack or something on them. The world is in an interesting place, and so the idea of foreign interference just lends itself well to what is going on the world stage, also in our country, right? As we look to possible war in the world and unrest everywhere. That's where we're at now, anyways. So we'll see if that indeed prevails or not. But we'll have more on that later. But first, we'll have weather, local news, and a little heads up. Maybe we'll even have a little sports today if I can get the story up and running here before we head into our weather, which I think we will be able to do. I might have to refresh the page again for a second time because that's what happens sometimes. And yes, that's indeed what I had to do. So there we go. So we might have some sports for you right after the weather. So we got everything for you today. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. I know that it won't disappoint in terms of information from Greater Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, world. We'll be back after the weather, right after this. And as usual, weather brought to you by Duck Check, and that's duckcheck.com. You can reach them online by the phone. You give them a call at 705-918-4848 and talk to Steve. Let him know we sent you, and you might get $100 off your next duct check inspection or your duct inspection for your duct work in your home and cleaning. So make sure to let them know we sent you. Currently, it is 16 degrees, light rain out there. Today, we can expect a few showers ending near noon, then cloudy with a 40% chance of showers, risk of thunderstorm late this afternoon. Today's high will be 21, but it'll feel like 27. UV index will be 6 or high. Tonight, partly cloudy, 30% chance of showers this evening, risk of thunderstorm early in the evening. Fog patches developing overnight, and the low will be 16. Tonight, Thursday, mix of sun and cloud, 30% chance of showers late in the afternoon, fog patches dissipating in the morning, high of 26. Humidex will feel like 31 tomorrow, so it'll feel very muggy. Again, 30% chance of showers, 26 tomorrow. Friday, 24, 30% chance of showers. Saturday, 60% chance of showers, high of 21. 24 and cloudy on Sunday, 40% chance of showers on Monday, high of 23, and 23 and cloudy on Tuesday. So far, looking like a lot of cloudy days and rain possibly in the next 6 to 7 days, but you never know with the weather. A lot of times we have had forecasts like that, and there's been quite a bit of sun. So it's just what Environment Canada is forecasting. Take it as you will. Look at the satellite here for those on the radio. Just a lot of clouds and a lot of rain activity going on over all of Ontario, basically, from James Bay all the way through southern Ontario. That is your Sudbury weather brought to you by Duct Check. If you're concerned about the quality of the air that you're breathing, you'll definitely want to give Duct Check a call or visit them online. So 705-918-4848, Duct Check, DUCT, check.com. If you're concerned about the air you're breathing in your home, they'll definitely make sure that it's clean and pure. Let them know we sent you, and you get $100 off your next duct cleaning and inspection. So we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, a little bit of sports, and all kinds of stuff right after this. Okay, yes. And welcome back. We do have a little bit of sports information for you today. The Sudbury Cyclones, we haven't really given them much time on the show, unfortunately. It is what it is. We get out of the routine of sports when the Wolves and the Five are done, but, you know, the Spartans and the Cyclones are at it, so we want to make sure to check in with them. Cyclones are on a 6-game winning streak, by the way. They return home this Saturday to face off against the Derby FC. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. at Cambrian College. So that's where they're playing, is Cambrian College. The Cyclones are on a 6-game winning streak and look to keep this streak alive this Saturday. They hold a record of 7 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. They're 5-0-0 at home. So they have a pristine record at home. Let's see if they can keep that going. They're 2-1-1 on the road. And expect plenty of entertainment for all ages with music, yard games, free parking, great food, and much more. Following Saturday's game, the Cyclones return to the pitch July 13th, where they host Masters FA for the full season schedule. You can visit sudburycyclones.ca. Single game tickets are now on sale. sudburycyclones.ca, and will be available for purchase at the gate 1 hour prior to the match. Avoid the lines and purchase online now. Kids 10 and under get in for only $10. For more information, visit sudburycyclones.ca. So there you go. News headlines today. There's quite a bit going on. There was a serious crash yesterday that closed down Highway 69 for 9 hours. A single vehicle crash on Highway 69 left the driver with serious injuries, life-altering injuries apparently, and closed the highway for 9 hours yesterday. The passenger also had minor injuries in that accident. They're on scene at the time to check out what was going on with that accident, what caused it, and all of that. But just keeping with sports, I guess I should have included that with our Sudbury Cyclones. We have 2 Sudburyans that are named to the Olympic team. Sylvia Swords for basketball, the women's Olympic basketball team, and Chloe Lacasse for the women's soccer team for the Paris Olympics. They're both named to their respective Olympic teams yesterday. So congratulations to both of them. And Sudbury is definitely proud of both of you. And we'll have more news headlines after we do a few check-ins with those checking in. And first to the YouTube party this morning is Nana. Good morning. Good morning to you as well, Nana. Thanks for being on. Judy, first to the Facebook party. Good morning to you. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. We have a story from Barrie this morning, and not a good one, but we'll get to that momentarily. Liked and shared as usual. Monique, good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji. And Belinda, good morning. Looking forward to your positive statement of the day, or at least a reflection. Every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. Okay, well, that does go in with the story that we were going to share from Barrie. But anyways, every time we witness an injustice and we do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. So let's see if I can find the story. It was basically teen violence is on the rise kind of thing. So let's see here if I can find it now that I'm quickly going through news headlines. Yeah, a lot of times when I do this, I'm just trying to skim and I miss the story. And that's exactly what's happening here. So maybe it's up. But anyways, it's... There was an incident. Yeah, here we go. Apparent rise in teen fight videos. Change sense of safety, says a doctor. Nobody tried to intervene and help, and everyone was just recording and yelling, says a victim of a recent attack in the south end of Barrie. So you've seen this before, like someone gets swarmed by a mob. It's happened to me once as well. I owned a restaurant at one time, and it was later in the evening, and, it wasn't very crowded other than this little gang of young men. One of them had a problem. I might have said something like, maybe you guys have to leave the restaurant now or whatever. And they basically swarmed me, circled me, and had various things in their hands to be able to use. Luckily, they didn't continue with what they were planning on doing or looked like they were going to do, but it was very scary for me. I think I'm able to defend myself to a large degree in many situations, but not against 8 young individuals with weapons. I mean, that's just not going to happen, right? Anyways, so it's very scary, and it goes along with Belinda's statement today. So people were just standing around videoing this incident that was going on instead of doing something about it. And what does that say about our society? Probably not too many good things. Maurice, good morning to you. Smiley emoji. Jerome, good morning from Timmins. Delayed going underground. I'll enjoy the discussion for a while. For sure, Jerome. We'll try and get as much in as we can before you have to head down under, so to speak. Monique, grand rising, everyone, with a smiley emoji and a heart emoji. Much appreciated. And Liette, good morning, everyone from Collingwood. Peace sign. Peace to you as well. Marianne, they sure make this guy cry a lot. Yeah, if anything, it's good for the garden. So that's all I got to say. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the weather these days. And it'll be definitely cloudy for the next week. Claire, good morning to all in Sudbury visiting. Cool. Claire, good morning to you. Does that mean you're visiting in Sudbury today, or good morning to all the people who are visiting in Sudbury? I think either way, it's positive and good morning. And Brian, good morning. Patriots, good morning to you, Brian. Hope you're having a good one. Along with you, Pat, good morning. Miles, good morning. I'm back and sorer after yesterday. Don't worry, this too shall pass. Well, I hope that whatever is making you sore, Miles, that you'll have a quick recovery and be back to full health sooner than later and not sore. Brian says true freedom requires the rule of law and justice and a judicial system in which the rights of some are not secured by the denial of rights for others. That's Jonathan Sachs. Quote from him, and that is so true, very true. At my core, I'm a person that is all for justice. It's I don't know if you had something that you're put on my tombstone, it would be in the name of justice or something, because we hear all these things about fairness and equity, and it's a replacement for judgment and justice, right? If you have judgment and you have justice, a lot of people look at those terms very harshly. However, it keeps everything fair. If it's true judgment and true justice, it would keep the playing field fair. You don't need equity and fairness if you have justice, right? So it's interesting. Wording is interesting, and the ideologies that these words come along with, they require much more study. And we see today with the new Marxist ideology that we have that's replacing the ideology that we've had culturally for so long. And it's been changing slowly and more quickly lately than ever. But just look out for these words of equity, equal, fairness, these types of things, inclusion, where if you had judgment, justice, just alone, it would be fair anyways, because everything would be just. You'd have justice. And so that would mean some people that do harm to others would be held accountable as well, which would keep everything fair and equal and inclusive, at least for people that they don't get harmed, like this swarm of teenagers in Barrie, right? It's great to have inclusion, but at the same time, you include people that are going to do harm to other people. There's not much to be included in after if everyone's doing harm to everyone else. So justice is the word of the day, I guess. Vin, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. And Marianne, those that don't intervene are guilty by association. I would tend to agree with you on that one. Belinda says people are afraid that we're going to go to war. What people don't understand is we are already at war on our own soil with mass immigration, criminal representatives in our own government, and I would put an etc. onto that. And we will be talking about that a little bit later on as we take some interesting comments from Chrystia Freeland being asked, will they release the names of those that we know are being involved with foreign interference? And we'll hear her non-answers, I guess you can say, two of the same non-answers to the same question. And it'll tell us a little bit about accountability and justice in our leadership of this country coming up a little bit later. Vin, remind Sean Scott and Druthers News team. Sean Scott and Druthers News team will be at Gus's restaurant or Gus's Diner today, noon until 4. And there'll be merch sold as well. That's cool. And I did get your message just before the show, Vin, so I'm glad that you stated that in the comments. So that way I could give a shout out for that. Yeah, Druthers, really interesting news. They have their paper. I think it's a monthly paper. It might be, again, I'm not sure if it's monthly or what, but it's a really cool news organization. They really get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, so to speak, in their news. And we really appreciate what they do. And if you are a fan of their news and their team, you can head on down to Gus's today and meet them and chat and get involved and ask them some questions and you name it. So Pat is saying earwigs love water and they're an infestation. That's true too, yes. Earwigs, apparently I heard, were not common to this area. They're an invasive species. I did not know that. And they came in they're a recent addition to our area. And I was not aware of that. And they're just gross. They're gross bugs in my opinion. I don't like earwigs. I'm not a fan. They look gross. I just don't like them. They're just not cool. They're always creeping in the weirdest, grossest places and stuff. They catch you by surprise. You're just moving something and there's a couple earwigs there. Anyways, we live in a system, but on illusions and lies, held together by order, followers, and the deceived, the believers, and the brainwashed. We live in a system built on illusions and lies, held together by order, followers, the deceived, the believers, and the brainwashed. That is Monique. Well, thank you very much. And that is an interesting, there is a kind of archetype for our world, and it's played out in a lot of movies where, like The Truman Show, a good example of that, Jim Carrey, where he's living in this world and it's a reality TV show and he doesn't realize he's in it. He is a reality show from birth right until adulthood. And then slowly he starts realizing, wait a minute, there's little signs here that something's just not right. And eventually he finds he's able to realize he's in a simulation and, he realizes his situation. And I think that's an archetype for all of us. We're born into this world, but at some point you got to wake up to what this world actually is and where you're living and who you are and why you're here, and where you're going. What is the purpose? Things like that. And there's a lot of, we're living in a veiled type of a world where those things aren't just apparent. They're just not surface level. You got to dig a little bit below the surface to see, and exercise a certain part of your being in order to wake up. It's basically like waking up from a dream. So The Matrix, it's another movie that has that archetype in it of waking up to reality. The world isn't exactly what you think it is. It's not face value whatsoever. You got to do a little scratching below the surface, or maybe a lot. Take some effort. Okay, so Miles, I was away yesterday having another hip replaced. My goodness, Miles. Well, that's great. I didn't know you were getting your other hip done as well. But great, and I wish you and hope you have a quick recovery from that. And yes, I'm here visiting. Thank you. Yes, that's Claire. Blessings to everyone from Espanola. That's Denise. Good morning to you, Denise. Marianne says, wishing you a speedy recovery, Miles, as well. And Denise says, we ain't seen nothing yet, which I do agree. I think we ain't seen anything yet at all, right? It's going to be interesting, and everyone's wishing Miles a fast recovery here. On my page, Denise says, in Canada, chain link scents keep, okay. On my page in Canada, chain link scents keeping people in like cattle, and had to go through some sort of metal detector before they can enter Canadian events on my page. So there's an event where you have to go through a metal detector like cattle to go into an event. Yes, that is true. There's a story I was just reading this morning about Sudbury Police, or OPP, using facial recognition technology, and that there's going to have to be some more checks and balances in terms of laws for how far do we go with this facial recognition thing. We all know that China's been using it for some time to a large extent, and that technology is too, I guess, tempting for governments and police and authorities to use. And so there's going to be a big push to use it here. It's already being used. How far will it go? Will it go as far as China is using it, we'll have to see. Chain link fence, yes. And yes, earwigs. There's other people that aren't necessarily fans of earwigs, and I would have definitely thought that was the case. Not too many people liking them over anywhere around here. So I'm 56 years old. I've seen earwigs since I was a child. They're not that new. Okay, well, I guess I'm older, and when I say new, I'm thinking maybe when I was younger. I have no idea. But in recent history, anyways, they were introduced to our area. And recent meaning what, 30 years, 40 years? I don't know. Good morning to you, Kevin. Thanks for being with us. And we're going to be heading into some news headlines here and then a little bit of a deep dive. So I had contracts in China since 2013, and their message to the world is take the towers down. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what the defense towers that countries have, or, oh, you mean people in China. So contacts meaning not contracts. You've had contacts in China, and their message is take the towers down, because the towers are the things that allow this technology to operate, right? The towers that went up the first week when we were in lockdown for COVID. I don't know if anyone else noticed it or not. We were in lockdown, and all of a sudden you look around, there's all these towers, these new towers went up all over the city. One was in almost my backyard. Never heard a thing. Just went up. And yes, you're right, Marianne. That is the name of the towers. If I say it, there's algorithms that will censor the show. So I'm just putting it up there for people wondering what the name of all these big towers that were put up all over the place. So yeah, what happened with that? How come I never heard any construction or anything? Just woke up one morning, there's this huge tower, maybe 200 feet away from my house. So anyways, yeah, so that is what, will enable all this technology, and they could be used for other things other than internet and communications. You can research it yourself. It's not hard to do that. There's lots out there on the towers and what they do. So you'll want to do that if you so choose to. If you're curious to what all these towers are for, what they're doing to you, what they potentially could do in the future, just so you know. You might want to know what these towers that are all around us are capable of doing. You know what I mean? It's where you live. I don't know. You might want to be interested in that. Okay, so let's move on here. So big news here in Sudbury with the new arena slated. They got a date for it and everything. So let's check in with CTV News as they report on the new arena. We'll be back right after this.
City Council in Sudbury is expected to award a $200,000 contract next week to a consultant tasked with fleshing out details for a new arena downtown. If approved, the contract would be awarded to consultant Ron Bidalka, who has extensive experience helping municipalities build arenas and other major developments. His tasks would include selecting the downtown site for the arena and negotiating agreements with the Sudbury Wolves and the Sudbury Five. Bidalka's firm would also conduct a study to determine parking rates and find other revenue and economic development opportunities. The city hopes to start construction of the $215 million arena in 2026, with an expected opening in 2028.
2028, yes. So Sudbury.com had the story on that. For more details here, you got headline, Downtown Arena Event Center slated to open by May 2028. The $200 million Arena Event Center, which I think if we were reading it in 2028 would say the $400 million Arena Event Center is slated to take shape in downtown Sudbury, is currently on schedule for May 28th grand opening. And this updated schedule was posted online this week as part of the July 9th City Council meeting agenda. It includes various project milestones along with the path toward its completion. The new building's construction is expected to begin, like we just heard, in March 2026. During the July 9th meeting, City Council will decide whether to award $200,000 single source contract to the KKR advisors that we just heard about to select the location that will maximize adjacent economic development opportunities. The advisors will also negotiate the facilities agreements with the Five and the Sudbury Wolves, as we just heard, using its unique market knowledge and market solicitations required to procure a venue operator. The city has purchased a swath of downtown land in recent months and now owns the entire block the Sudbury Community Arena is situated on, as well as 2 blocks to the east up to Shaughnessy Street. The city also owns the southern portion of the block on which the Sudbury Theatre Centre stands, much of the block to its south and the entire triangular block to its southwest. So they own a lot of the land, to put it mildly, here. So that is coming up. You know, it's only going to take, 4 years from now till we have a new arena. We started talking about this thing 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. It was in the news. Remember, they had a bit of, they had a vote, City Council, whether it was going to be downtown or on the Kingsway, and they decided it was going to be on the Kingsway, and then we went through years and years and years of that, and now we're back to the beginnings where we're discussing when we can start construction on the new arena. Looks like, though, a lot more has advanced since that time, and they even have a date. So looks like it's going ahead no matter what. Will a casino be part of this this new arena? We'll have to see. There's rumors out there that there is one, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is being said about that possibility. But I'll just put it out there that more than likely that is part of it. And thanks to Canine Walking Services, absolutely love your page. Well, thank you very much, and welcome, and good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. And Denise says, good morning, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy. Like and share. Thanks for being with us, Denise. Good morning to you. So I'm just giving some shout outs to those that are jumping on. And, what's going on we're speaking of justice this morning and accountability. And there seems to be very little of that going on in our world today, and especially with leadership. I'll just take, for example, our federal government. In any other government at any other time, if you were to hear that there was for sure foreign interference going on at the highest levels of our government, things would be hitting the fan. People would be resigning left, right, and center. The news wouldn't stop talking about it. They would keep at it until there was justice, some type of justice, some type of accountability. But we don't have that these days. I'm not sure why. It is what it is. It's the world we live in. I'm not a fan, but it is what it is. Now, here's a particular gentleman going through his take on Chrystia Freeland, being asked by the reporter if they will indeed release the names of these people that are meddling, giving information, secure information about our country away to foreign actors, if they'll release the names. It's pretty simple. Like, should there be accountability for these people? Obviously, you and I would say yes, but other people, not so much, right? Including those in power, and why not? So we'll check in with that and see. I got to get the volume button right away as it starts here. There we go.
That there are currently politicians inside our government that are implicated in foreign interference. The report has discovered at least 11 MPs that are involved in this explosive new information. These MPs could be working for foreign governments' interests and not the interests of citizens of Canada. With this new information, there should be an election announcement called today. Here's the problem. The Liberals are not going to release the people that are inside the report. Meaning, if we went to an election today, we could be voting for someone that is involved in treasonous acts, which puts in question our entire democracy. You are not going to believe the response Chrystia Freeland said to a reporter today. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Chris Glover with C. My question is for the Deputy Prime Minister. I want to talk about the list of politicians that hasn't been made public from the report on foreign interference. And the question is your government prepared to send voters to the polls without knowing if the person that they're voting for is colluding with a foreign power?
Let's see what she says.
Thank you for the question. And let me start by saying our government takes foreign interference in Canada, in Canadian democracy, very seriously. We have put in place more tools to fight foreign interference than any previous government. Our colleague, the Minister of Public Safety, testified extensively on this issue to the House of Commons Committee yesterday. One of the things he said, which I'd like to reinforce, is that law enforcement bodies of jurisdiction are seized of the issue.
A quick answer to
That's it.
Please don't put words in my mouth. Let me be clear. We take foreign interference in Canadian democracy very seriously, as I think do all Canadians. I think we all know how precious our democracy is, how lucky we are to live in a democracy, and that this is a time in the world when democracy is under threat. That's why our government has put in place enhanced tools to fight foreign interference in Canada. That's important, and we've done that. Our colleague, the Minister of Public Safety, testified at length before the House of Commons Committee yesterday about this issue. Among other things, he said that the appropriate law enforcement bodies are seized of the issue, and I have nothing to add today beyond that.
Would you mind repeating
Next
in French?
question.
This is unbelievable. She provided us not once, but twice non-answers. Her second attempt at answering the question was a repeat of her non-answer. Second, she is correct about our democracy being attacked. We deserve to know immediately as Canadians who's involved because they are currently running our country. Chrystia Freeland said they treat claims of foreign interference very seriously. But by not releasing the names, that contradicts her claim, in my opinion. If she actually cared, they would be releasing the names. We have zero idea who's on that list, and that's very concerning. We can't even speculate because that would not be fair. But I really wonder if it's Stephen Guilbeault with his fight to fight climate change at all costs, even if it's going to make every single Canadian go broke. He continues to push climate change on us while China is building one coal-fired power plant every single 2 weeks. And guess who's feeding the coal for those new power plants? You might have guessed it, Canada. Maybe their 0.25% interest rate cut was just made to distract us. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so there you go. And I love the comments that we've had here about, let me be clear. I love that. And then word salad to follow kind of thing. So a clear word salad of just messed up, just non-answers, just a bunch of words that don't answer the question, right? And good morning, Evelyn. Thanks for being with us. You said you've been working on your sleep camp, and that's fine. You don't have to apologize for not being on. That's fine. And you had said that whether or not they put extra measures on foreign interference, why did it happen at all? Exactly. They said they put extra measures there, that they've done a lot of work, more than any other government, but yet why do we have foreign interference then? If you've done more work than any other government, and release the names. And then he said, so you're saying you won't release the names? And then she said, very authoritatively. Now, don't put words in my mouth. You know what I mean? Like, well, someone's got to put words in your mouth because you're not speaking words that make sense to Canadians. You're getting away with criminality is what you're doing. In broad daylight, in plain sight. You're being criminals in plain sight. The media, for once, to their credit, I don't know why, they've started asking real questions. Maybe because they won't have news organizations very shortly, but they've started asking real questions, which good. You should have been asking them all along, but better late than never. So, yeah. So are you going to release these names of those that are being interfered with by foreign entities? Or are our politicians even willingly just going over there and soliciting other countries? Maybe they're making money on the side through things like China's building one coal plant every 2 weeks. So that's 2 coal plants a month. I know I've heard other things as well that they're building them faster. If they can build a hospital in 7 days, I mean, what other things can they build, and how fast could they build them? Because they are definitely wanting to be the world's power, the heavy weight of the world. And to do that, you need power, you need energy. And so I wouldn't doubt it if they were just all hands on deck, making as many coal plants as possible. So I'll take one every 2 weeks, Imagine that. We were building one coal plant every 2 weeks. While other countries were trying to reduce their carbon footprint, right? And being taxed, with this egregious carbon tax from this sparsely populated country that contributes less than 1% of carbon emissions to the world. Makes no sense. So now you have that government who's doing things like that, interfering in our elections, and you have our government hiding the people and not releasing the names of those that are doing the bidding for these other countries in our country, right? So you're just seeing it in broad daylight. You're seeing it in plain sight, what our country's all about. And I really appreciate people like Tucker Carlson when he came to Canada. He just basically came out and said what a lot of us are thinking. And if we haven't thought of it, it's because we're in a sleep. We're in this kind of trance. But it's really good to hear just unadulterated truth of people observing what's going on here. So you take an outsider like Tucker Carlson, and one of my favorite journalists of all times. I just really appreciate where he's coming from. He doesn't hold back. I appreciate his personality and all kinds of things. And he's been an inspiration for me. So anyways, this is his take on what the state of the country. Some of you might have seen this already, but I think it just kind of sums things up to a large extent.
In the Prime Minister's office, your rights remain the same because you were born with them, because you are not a slave, you're a human being, and you have inherent dignity because God made you. That's just a fact. And if they're taking those rights away piecemeal and doing so in the name of public safety, even as they make the public sphere much more dangerous, which they have, in case you haven't noticed, Canada has a lot more violent crime now than it did 20 years ago. Have you noticed? Of course you have. You live here. And if they're telling you can't defend yourself against that crime, we're going to disarm you, you can't protect your life or your family, and you're like, oh yeah, it's for the public safety, it's just not a big deal. These are weapons of war. No, they're weapons of self-defense, which you need and deserve as a free person, not a slave. And then they're telling you you can't complain about it. And then they're subsidizing the media to the point where all of your big media outlets, which are disgusting, are state media because they're taking state cash. Do you watch CBC? I do, occasionally. I can turn in any hour of the day and I will learn that I am racist for driving an SUV and not being trans. That's the whole schedule of CBC programming. But interpret that. That's not woke. Oh, it's woke. I hate the woke crap. It doesn't mean anything. They hate you. That's what they're saying. They're saying that you are bad. That's exactly what they're saying. Don't lie to yourselves. That's all I'm saying. And we are very delusional in the United States because we're so distracted by stuff and electronic devices and the promise of next day delivery from Amazon of brightly colored plastic crap made in China that we tend to be slow to figure out what's going on. But Canada has a different restraint, which is a cultural one. It's an specific Anglo-cultural one, which is just like, I don't want to deal with that. That's too uncomfortable. But in your heart, anyway, even if you voice it to no one but yourself, know what the message is. And the message is, you are bad. I mean, I'm going to say the most controversial thing ever. I watched when Montreal was cleansed of its Anglo legacy. And I'm not anti-French, just for the record, at all. But I am Anglo, and I had friends in Montreal. And in the span of a generation, like, that's all gone. They were forced out. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll go to Ontario. What? My grandfather built this city. I'm not going anywhere. How about that? That never occurred to anyone. Because no one could say out loud what was actually happening. This was a series of acts of hostility aimed at you because of things that you didn't choose, like how you were born. And once you will keep allowing that, you have no future, okay? So if they're limiting your freedom to say what you think, which is the freedom of conscience, the most basic of all freedom, your freedom to defend yourself and your family against bodily harm, which has got to be a twin to the first one. If they're taking away your voting power by changing the population of your country, which they are doing, and no one wants to talk about that, Canada has the highest immigration rate in the world per capita. And shut up, racist! That's not racist. I don't care if they're coming from New Zealand. I don't care if you're taking the population of Stockholm and moving them to Canada. If you change the population of the country, you change the country. And you dilute the voting power of the people who are vested in that country, the people who are born there, who have lived there long term, who understand the history and the culture of the country, who are bought in. And all of a sudden, their vote means much less. It's math. You guys do that. Math.
Well, I guess I had to realize I was just checking one of my messages on my Facebook here, as I thought Tucker was just going to continue to talk, but I guess the video's come to an end. Again, he shares a lot more points than that when he was on his speaking tour through Canada. And I did see someone said that he was controlled opposition, and I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm always open to that. I've gone on a limb and told people that, you know, a lot of the people that are out there that have been really instrumental in opening people's eyes to a lot of things that are going on. And I was like, well, that person's obviously controlled opposition, and I got in a lot of flack by saying that. So I am very aware, and I'm open-minded to that possibility. And I would definitely say it's still a possibility, but at the same time, I respect those that he interviews, the point of view that he has. What he's saying is true, that we are born free. We are not born property of the state. That's a communist, Marxist ideology. We are born equal, so all this equity stuff and whatever, we're already equal. We're just born that way. It's only governments and things that change the lay of the land when it comes to our freedoms. Anybody on this earth who is born the same, with the same rights, because they are born free to begin with. No person is any better than any other person. End of story. So when you get a group of people that are no better than anyone else together, and they form a group, let's call it a state or a government, and then they start asserting powers over other people to give them more powers, or to give other people more power than another person. They're changing, they're changing the game, and they're enforcing it where one person has more power over another, which, if you take God out of the equation, which communists and Marxists do, then you're left with that. Whoever has the guns, whoever has the missiles, whoever has the police, they have the power and they have the authority and they have more rights than you do, right? But you take all that away, and you're left with human beings are just human beings, and we all basically come into this world with what we're born with, and that's it. Some strengths, some weaknesses, but in terms of being better than or having more power over another person, you start getting into that territory. Yeah, well then, and someone starts telling you that it's right, that that's the case, that needs to be the case, and that's a communist, Marxist way of thinking, and it's not going to end up very well for anybody once you start going down that road. So again, concepts like that Tucker's able to articulate very well, way better than I could. I'm trying to articulate it now, and in my mind, I'm going like, I hope people aren't confused now, right? So that's why I appreciate people like him. Well, thanks for being with us today, everyone. We appreciate you being on and commenting and being with us, and I hope that you're able to get something out of the show, and we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Hopefully you all have a great hump day, Wednesday, and we'll see you same time, same place on the same platforms and station. Stay tuned now. Speaking of station, CKLU 96.7 FM. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily, and we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. God willing. Have a great one, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.